Hi there, my name is Sam, and today I will be talking about the impact positive psychology has on the language development of DHH children and their families. I just want to say right off the bat that I myself do not have any children, but I've done extensive research on this topic, so I hope it sheds even a little bit of light on whatever is going on your end. First of all, I'd like to review some brief differences there are in the language development between DHH children and hearing children. Over the past decade, linguists have begun exploring the language development DHH children experience. Interestingly enough, there are some similarities between DHH children and hearing children during this process in terms of similar errors that are made. However, one of the biggest differences between DHH children and their hearing peers is that DHH children who are born into hearing families often fall victim to language deprivation. Due to language deprivation, these children tend to show cognitive delays across different domains. With that being said, and I cannot emphasize this enough, these delays are not set in stone. Delays can and often are overcome when given the proper guidance and support. As we move forward, I want to introduce something called positive psychology. Positive psychology is the study of what makes life worth living. People who adopt this branch of psychology into their way of life strive to live a life of the highest quality. Positive psychology encourages people to look past one's flaws and focus on one's strengths instead, and to find a way to use their strengths to grow individually as well as in society. This branch of psychology coincides with a humanistic approach to thinking. This involves looking at people as a whole and aim to help them achieve the best version of themselves. Humanistic approaches to thinking try to avoid the infamous idea of labeling individuals. Below, you can see the founders of the humanistic approach, Abraham Maslow and Carl Rogers, both American psychologists who paved the road for positive psychology to become as big as it is in today's world. You may be asking yourself, this girl keeps talking about specific ways of thinking, but what does that really mean? Let me shed some light on that question. A positive psychological mindset revolves around three aspects: having peace with the past, being happy or satisfied with one's current life, and being optimistic or hopeful for the future. And as I'm sure you've already noticed, I put a picture of the Lion King's Rafiki in the corner of this slide. I did this intentionally because I feel as though the mentality of positive psychology reminds me a lot of what this character represents. Rafiki spreads awareness for the other characters to accept their past experiences and learn from it. Positive psychology really isn't all that different. We shouldn't let current or past circumstances put our lives on hold, but instead keep a positive and optimistic attitude towards life and use that to our advantage. Positive psychology is composed of three different levels, or pillars. The first pillar focuses on positive emotions and experiences. The second pillar focuses on positive individual traits. And the third pillar focuses on positive institutions. As I continue speaking about the three pillars, you will quickly see how they're all intertwined with one another. Positive emotions or experiences is exactly what it sounds like, learning and reflecting from one's pleasant experiences. This pillar is important for a child's language development because positive experiences lead to exploration, and exploration leads to mastery. The idea of pleasant experiences or experiences which evoke positive emotions increases a child's desire to learn. Research believes that parents should reward a child's display of talents and strengths while also demonstrating the strengths themselves for their child to learn from in an observational manner. Positive individual traits are aimed at both one's caregiver and child. This is when a child adopts or is surrounded by traits that include, but are not limited to, compassion, resilience, creativity, and curiosity. Positive institutions may sound a little intimidating, but all it is a child's environment. This could be the family they're constantly surrounded by, one's school, or any other type of environment in which the child spends a good portion of their time in. Researchers have discovered that positive institutions create a greater likelihood of a child's success during their developmental periods. In addition, it's also been established that positive institutions and positive individual traits have an extremely high connection with one another. Positive institutions promote positive individual traits, which then produce positive experiences. Like I said, each of the three pillars often overlap with one another. If you're familiar with psychology, you may be aware of the fact that positive psychology had received an immense amount of criticism in the past because it doesn't hold as much scientific research or scientific support as other branches of psychology hold. Despite this rough reputation, positive psychology has exploded in popularity within the past decade or so and is now rebuilding itself inside the psychological community. With that being said, however, this branch got critiques for understandable reasons, so I suggest you use this approach with your best judgment. Looking at the big picture, positive psychology encourages people to live life with an optimistic outlook. I believe that positive psychology can be incredibly helpful for families with DHH children who are beginning to develop language skills. This branch of psychology can promote hopefulness, optimism, and an appreciation of experiences, which is exactly what some families need to focus on when facing challenging situations. Families who have adopted positive psychology showed a child whose extrinsic and intrinsic motivation increased significantly in regards to one's desire to learn and develop lingually. Extrinsic motivation is simply external motivational factors, while intrinsic is simply internal factors. Now, I'd be lying if I were to say that the language development journey for your DHH child will be an easy one. However, I cannot emphasize enough how important it is to keep a positive and supportive mindset throughout this experience and to not let this challenge discourage you. The fact that you've stumbled upon this video shows that your heart is in it and that you've already adopted a positive mentality that positive psychology is all about. No matter how difficult it may seem, these challenges can and will be overcome with the right attitude and dedication from both the caregivers and the child. I'd like to thank you for your time and wish you and your family the best of luck on this developmental journey. Just remember, stay positive.